Tempers boiled over at a House hearing on gun violence. Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz tried to get the parents of a murdered Parkland high school student, two of them, removed from the room. CNN's Lauren Fox explains.
A congressional hearing on gun violence boiling over after Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz suggested that illegal immigration poses a greater threat to the public than guns.
I hope we do not forget the pain and anguish and sense of loss felt by those all over the country who have been the victims of violence at the hands of illegal aliens. H.R. 8 would not have stopped many of the circumstances I raised, but a wall, a barrier on the southern border may have, and that's what we're fighting for. Mr. Chairman. Well,
gentlemen will suspend.
The Florida congressman's claim prompting outrage from the fathers of two victims of last year's massacre at a Parkland, Florida high school. Manuel Oliver and Fred Guttenberg repeatedly interrupting Gaetz as he argued against a bill that would require background checks for all gun sales and actively campaigned for a border wall.
The greatest driver of violence in the circumstances that I indicated was not the firearm. It was the fact that we have an immigration system that allows people to come here violently. We engage in...
There will be no comments or demonstrations, please.
Committee Chairman Democrat Jerry Nadler issuing several warnings for the men to stop interrupting before Democrat David Cicilline posed this question to committee leaders.
Is there any committee rule that prevents a member of Congress from reciting false statements in a committee hearing?
Cicilline's remarks prompting applause from some and a rebuke from ranking member Republican Doug Collins.
Mr. Chairman, I make a point of order against the gentleman. I make a point of order that the gentleman's words were unparliamentary because they implied the lying or the falsehood of a member.
The episode concluding with Gaetz calling for the Parkland fathers to be removed from the hearing.
Is there a process in the committee whereby if the very same people are repeatedly interrupting the time of the members, that those people will be asked to depart the committee? Or is there...
Chairman Nadler denying Gaetz' request and later criticizing the congressman on CNN.
He was beyond terrible in what he was saying. We were sitting in a room full of parents of children murdered at Parkland High School.
Gaetz telling the Sun Sentinel that he did not know that Oliver had lost a child in the Parkland shooting, but would react the same way if he did, noting, quote, "I don't think anybody, regardless of tragic circumstances, can expect to come to a congressional hearing and take it over with a series of interruptions."
All right, so straight ahead, stay with us, because the father of a 17-year-old boy murdered at Parkland, Joaquin Oliver, his father, the man who interrupted that hearing, wanted his voice heard. He's with us next. All right, welcome back. Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida clashed with the parents of murdered students murdered in the Parkland massacre at a House hearing yesterday on gun violence. Joining me now is one of those fathers, Manuel Oliver. His son, 17-year-old Joaquin, was one of those people murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School nearly 1 year ago. Manuel, thank you for being with me, and we all just watched what happened yesterday to you. And you stood up in protest and you made your voice heard when Representative Gaetz made the assertion that we should be talking about a wall on the border instead at this gun violence hearing. What did you feel in that moment?
Well, my first feeling is that this guy is in the wrong room. I mean, he should be discussing these matters in another place. That's another discussion. So don't bring the wall as a solution for everything. It's pretty offensive that you are, number one, I don't think you're qualified for this. And number two, you're asking us to waste time. You're wasting time from us to really go ahead and solve the problem. So I just try to listen. If this is how this is going to work, I got to stop this guy. I got to let the whole nation know that he's wrong.
And what
he has
were
the
you,
wrong point.
What were you saying? It was hard for me to hear. I think a lot of people saw you stand up and heard your voice, but they don't know what you said. What were you saying?
Well, he was making a point of. By the way, I had no idea who this guy was before. All right, maybe I'm missing something, but I just for me, it's just another comedian that I have to deal with. And he started saying that we should never forget those victims of gun violence that were attacked by illegal aliens, and how that is a big issue that we need to solve, and the solution is the wall. So that's when I was able to stand up and said, what about us? Don't forget about us and our kids. Other Parkland fathers were there, and a bunch of kids behind us. And what do you mean? You're bringing you're a salesperson that pretends to sell the wall project in the wrong room, dude. And then you point at me? No, that's not how it works.
But before I move on, because I am interested in if you've heard from him since, but just tell everyone about your son. I mean, Joaquin, 17 years old, he moved to this country from Venezuela, right? For a better life.
Correct.
He became a citizen the year before he was murdered.
Correct.
What do you want everyone to know about him?
A beautiful person, a great dude, an amazing friend, my best friend, I will say. He was a very happy kid. He loved it here. He loved the way his life was moving forward. He was always surrounded by music and art and poetry. He used to write a lot. An amazing guy. An amazing guy. I miss him a lot. And his mother misses him a lot. And his sisters too, of course.
And your nickname for him?
I used to call him Enano, which means short guy. He was, believe it or not, short when he was a kid. And then they call him Wack.
Yeah.
So, and these days, everybody knows him as Wack.
So, have you heard from Representative Gaetz?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think I'm going to hear from him. But let me tell you something. I can't wait for this name to be out of my story, because the real name that I'm concerned about is Joaquin Oliver. So I never heard before about him, and I haven't heard from him, and I don't need to hear from him. I mean, the whole nation listened to him. That's more than enough.
You were a guest at the State of the Union address, and the president did bring up gun violence at the State of the Union twice, once talking about illegal immigrants utilizing guns, and also about the horrific massacre we saw at the Tree of Life Synagogue. We did not hear about the Parkland students, and I wonder what your message is for the president and for the nation on gun violence.
Well, it's not that we didn't hear about the Parkland shooting, because mentioning each shooting he wouldn't have time enough to do that on the one night. But he didn't mention the word guns. He didn't mention the common element in all these shootings, which is the gun itself, and why this is happening. Why are we okay with this? Why is it fine when the gun lobby and the NRA are behind this, and we're not fine and we're not okay when an illegal alien, according to some people, is the person that is shooting your kid? So I guess that the only option that you have as a father is make sure that the shooter of your son, it's an illegal alien, so they can mention him. And I'm not going to stop saying what I said yesterday or what I've been saying for the last year. I am a father. Before an activist, I am a father, and I have a duty as a father. My son will be represented by his mom and his dad forever. And you have to deal with it, my friend. Everybody. There's kids out there that need to stay alive, and I'm worried and concerned about them.
Let's end on this, and that is how you are honoring your son's life. You're an artist, and you have painted a beautiful mural after his death. How will you continue to honor him?
Well, I will keep on doing what I know and use.
Heart were these 4 words from the Apostle Paul in Galatians, that God is not mocked. This is the ancient biblical vision.
We'll be in New York. We are displaying the biggest wall so far. It's going to be the wall 17. When I say wall, I'm talking about the walls that I make, the ones that I paint, the beautiful ones that represent every single victim of gun violence, the ones that are really making a point and being part of a solution. So It's going to be a tough day, but it's just going to be another day without my son. We just try to honor him in a non-traditional, effective way to send the right message to the people.
Manuel Oliver, words cannot express my grief for you and for all who have lost their children to gun violence. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let's hand it over now to our colleague, Jim Sciutto.